What's up everyone, Jace Young here, and inside of today's video, I'm going to talk about the top 3 ways that you can make your kids regret coming back to the family farm. What's up everyone, my name is Jace Young. I'm the founder of a company called Legacy Farmer, and inside of that company, what we do is we've helped over 300 family farms simplify and streamline the entire financial side of their operation and help them learn their numbers at a deep level so that they can implement the systems and the processes to make sure that their operation lives on for generations into the future. Now, inside of today's video, we're going to talk about something pretty serious here, but it's something that I think a lot of parents and especially kids need to understand as well, because there's going to be a lot of kids, and when I say kids, I'm talking people in their 20s and 30s that are looked at as kids on the family farm operation, that move back to the family farm operation to carry on the family legacy. These are people that have sacrificed, their dreams and what they wanted to do with their life in order to go back and try to carry on the family legacy. And these are people that have gotten married, moved their kids and their family back to the family farm operation. So if you've done that before, you understand the sacrifice that you're making and the choice that you're making, and you're really dedicating your life to, the family legacy that your parents started or your grandparents started or whatever. Now, the problem that we run into that we've discussed inside the Legacy Farmer with a lot of our members is a lot of kids are going back to the family farm operation being told one thing, yet another thing is happening. Okay, and this is what I'm going to talk about today, about the 3 biggest regrets or 3 biggest ways that you can make your kids regret coming back to the family farm operation. Now, when we're bringing kids back to the operation, a lot of parents, they make these big promises, right? You're going to have responsibility. You're going to be able to inherit assets. We're going to start transitioning the farm operation over to you. Now, when you're 24 or 25 coming back to the operation, you're expecting this to happen pretty darn quick. Like by the time you're 30, right? And so some of those expectations may be wrong. And but the problem is though, is that parents are not being direct in setting up those expectations. So the 3 ways that you can make your kids regret not coming back or coming back to the family farm operation. Number 1 is you expect them to only do things the way that you did. Now, this is a big issue, and this is a big problem because you have somebody coming back to the operation. They are young, they are motivated, they're excited, they're ready to do things differently, like they're ready to take on the world. Okay, and this doesn't even matter if you're in farming and ranching. This can be in any industry. Somebody graduates college or whatever, like they're ready to go to battle and do something big with their life. And a lot of kids, again, going back to the operation, they're sold the dream, right? Sold exactly what they'll be able to do and the pull that they'll have, the decisions that they'll be able to make. But yet, once they do, we tell them that, and then they get back into the operation, they try to start doing it, and a lot of parents immediately put their foot down. A lot of parents immediately go from treating their 25-year-old son or daughter who's back in the operation like a 16-year-old kid again. Saying, hey, I get that you wanted to do that, but that was the wrong decision. You need to do it this way because this is the way we've always done it, and this is the way we know it works. I get that, okay? But there's 2 different ways of actually putting that information into your kid's head, right? You can be direct like that, and you can try to put them down, and guess what? All that motivation and spark they had when they came back to the operation, you are going to kill that over the coming years by doing that and by speaking to them that way. Versus having them consider the possibility of doing things a different way. So using those terms, hey, I get that you want to do it this way. Consider the possibility of maybe trying it this way. You see how less direct and aggressive and negative that is towards speaking that way towards someone? So that's one very powerful tip all of you can take from watching this video. When you are trying to get somebody in your world to do something different or do something the way that you want them to do it, it's all about wording. If you change those words and just use consider the possibility or consider the option of doing it this way or that way, it's so much more direct. And the thing is you're getting this person to think. And once they come up with an idea of yeah, maybe we should do it this way, and it's secretly the way that you wanted it done in the first place, you make them think it's their idea. That's great because it gives a sense of confidence. Like, hey, I made this decision. I'm the one that figured this out. I solved this. But again, though, that's what should be happening. Is it what's happening? No, it's not. A lot of parents, they're putting their kids down and they are stealing that spark and that fire that their kids came back to the operation with by expecting them to always do things the same way that they did them, that their granddad did them or whatever, and not being open to, a different way of doing things, new ways of doing things. And, side hint here, we are in a constantly changing economic environment. We have to adapt. Every business and every industry across the world has to adapt every single year to what is going on inside of our world. And again, this is another way you can really ruin the farm and make your kids really regret coming back, is not being open to the idea of doing things differently, because we can still accomplish the results that we want. It just may be done in a different way. And to be honest, the world's going to demand that you do it in a different way because our economic environment is shifting. All right. So moving into number 2, the second reason as to how you can make your kids regret coming back to the farm is expect them to work like a business owner, but pay them as an employee. Okay. I cannot tell you how many members we have inside a Legacy Farmer that are approaching, late 30s, early 40s, that are literally getting paid the exact same thing they were 15 years ago. 40 grand a year or 35 grand a year, whatever that number is, getting paid the exact same. Now, again, why do they put up with this? Well, any other job, they would leave. If I got paid the same thing at one job for 15 years of my life, you can bet your ass I am leaving that position and I'm going to find something better. But when it comes to the family farm operation, kids won't do that because they feel this obligation to the family farm. And if they leave the family farm, they fear being disowned. They feel like they're letting the family down. They feel like they're abandoning the family legacy and all this thing, which none of that is true, by the way. And if you think it's that way, then you need to turn off the video right now because you want to try to hold your kids hostage to what they should do in their lives. We don't do that in Legacy Farmer. In Legacy Farmer, we're trying to empower people to build their own legacies if they so choose, not the one that their parents had or their grandparents had. Some people want to build their own thing. That's great. And I encourage it actually, because business and family doesn't always mix well together. But back to the point here is that you bring kids back, and a lot of kids go back to the family operation getting paid 35, 40 grand a year. And again, they put up with that because they continue to get sold the promise, right? Responsibility, the ability to make decisions, the ability to run the operation, inherit assets, start taking ownership, things like that. Never happens, right? But the problem is that what we've seen in Legacy Farmers, a lot of these parents, they want their kids to work like a business owner and behave like a business owner, but pay them like an employee. Do you see what's wrong with that equation? That does not work. You cannot expect your kids to come back and think like business owners, yet when they're rewarded every month with a small paycheck in their bank account, they know that they're an employee. They know that they are not looked at as a business owner. Even though you want them to carry on the responsibility, you want them to work 80 to 100 hours a week and do what business owners have to do every now and then. You want them to think like that, but then you pay them like an employee. That's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for disaster. You have to change the way that you're looking at paying your kids. Now, there's several different options that you can do this. One, you can increase their pay with each year. And the way that you do that is you better know your numbers. You better know your numbers, okay? And a lot of parents, what we're finding is the kids go back and they say, hey, I need a pay raise. I've been here for 15 years. I'm only getting paid 40 grand a year. Cost of living has went up. We have more kids now. Like, I want to build something in my life. And the parents say, well, we can't afford it. Most of the parents, they don't even know if they can afford it. They don't even know where their numbers are at. Like, that's just the truth of what's going on in the industry. They're just saying that based off of emotion, not off of what the actual facts are. So that's one way that you're going to set your kid up for failure and make them want to leave the family farm or, just regret coming back to the farm because you don't know your numbers. And when your kids come back and they say, hey, I'm putting in 80 hours a week, I'm handling all the day-to-day operations, the team's running good, we're producing profit and our field and cattle and everything's performing well, and then you don't feed them, you're setting them up for failure. So you can either increase their pay year by year and do a percentage increase basis. You could give them ownership. It's simply, all it is simply changing the operating agreement. You can show them that they're getting shares inside of the company, or you can create some type of incentive plan saying, hey, if we hit this profit margin or this amount of revenue or whatever, then here's an extra $10,000 or $20,000. Guys, you have to be willing to do this. Otherwise, you will lose your kids long-term, or there will be such massive resentment inside of the family, you won't even be able to be at family functions together. Because again, from your kids' point of view, they are wasting years, decades of their life when they could have chosen something else. They could have done something else. So as parents, it's our responsibility to make sure that we're providing the proper pay model. And I'm going to tell you, incentives work really well, or ownership works really well, and giving them a certain amount of shares every single year works really well. Because then they feel that ownership. They're being treated like a business owner versus you want them to act like a business owner, but you're going to pay them like an employee. Recipe for disaster. All right, so now let's move into the third reason why kids will regret coming back to the family farm operation. You try to control their personal decisions. Now, why is this a problem? Well, one instance we had come up with one of our members was, and this actually isn't just one member, this is actually multiple members. When, again, it's the same situation. They've been back on the farm 15 years. They've been getting paid the same thing, and they approach their parents and say, hey, I want to make more money here. And some parents, even in today's world, which just blows my mind, have the balls to tell their kids, hey, Give us your personal finances then. Let us see where you're at so we know what we need to pay you. That is completely out of line, but yet I'm shocked by how many people have come into Legacy Farmer that are multi-generational family farm operations and are being treated this way. That is completely wrong, and you will ruin your relationship with your kids and your grandkids long term if you're trying to treat your kids that way. And if you're a kid listening to this video right now and your parents are treating you that way, you need to exit yourself from that situation as quickly as possible, because it'll destroy a lot of things in your life, including your marriage. If you are the daughter-in-law and your mother-in-law is saying, let me see your finances, or your father-in-law is saying, let me see your finances, you're going to get the big middle finger, and guess what? They deserve it. That's private. That is stepping over the line there. There has to be boundaries set up inside of a family farm operation. When those boundaries are crossed, that's where you're going to ruin the family farm operation. Working with family is great, until it's not. And when it's not, it's really bad. And that type of situation right there is one of those scenarios where it becomes really bad really fast. So make sure, if you're a younger person back at the operation, make sure that you set those boundaries. Make sure that you are pre-framing the conversation way ahead of time, saying, hey, we're going to talk about money, and you are not going to bring up one thing that I do financially and personally inside of my family life. And guess what? If they have a problem with that, you probably need to go find a different opportunity for yourself. You probably need to step away from the operation, go work somewhere else, or better yet, go start your own thing. That'll be great for you. Okay. So you have to pre-frame the conversation and set those boundaries way ahead of time. Even when kids, I'm of the opinion, even when kids come back to the operation, these boundaries need to be set day one. Okay. And the biggest one is, you are not going to ask about my personal financial decisions at all, unless I'm asking for your advice, unless I'm asking for your insight. Okay. Because the moment you do that, them treating you like that, you could be 40 years old and mom and dad saying, hey, let me see your finances in order for me to figure out how much I can pay you. They're treating you like you're 16 again. That's a problem. That is not going to work out well. So, what I talk about in Legacy Farmer is making sure that, we have 300 members in Legacy Farmer. That's 300 families. That's 300 generations that we have the ability to impact, that can do things a different way than what the prior generations have done things, right? And how they've treated their kids and grown up and everything like that. And so these are three things that we really talk about a lot inside of Legacy Farmer with our members. And separating out personal and business is a big one, but you have to have agreed upon boundaries set up from the get-go so that everybody's clear. And the moment those boundaries are set, and what if they're crossed, you need to have the guts to have that direct conversation with your parents, with your siblings, whoever is involved in crossing that boundary, and get people back on point and get them focused back on what the mission is for your guys' family operation. So these are three critical points here that you guys all need to understand. Some of you are going to be in the kids' seat here. Some of you are going to be in the generation that, hey, I moved back to the farm, Jace, this is the situation I'm in. I just told you how to handle a lot of this. And guess what? There's no easy answer to this. If you were in that position where you feel like you can't make anymore, you feel like you were lied to coming back there and everything, the best decision for you is going to be to pack up and leave the operation. That's not the easy decision. That is the hardest decision to make in the world, especially if you're established there with a wife and kids. You got kids' activities and everything going on there. I get that. But the pain of sitting in that position for the next several decades of your life is going to be a lot worse than packing up, leaving, going through a couple of years of hard times and reestablishing your family and everything there. It's going to be a lot worse there. Okay, I promise you that. But you have to have the guts in order to take a stand for your family and what you want long term for your kids. Because at the end of the day, it's not about your parents. If you're in the kids' position here, it's not about your parents. It's not about what they built. It's not about what your grandparents built. Okay, your decisions should not be made off of what they've built in their lives. You are not there to protect their legacy. What you should be there to do is to protect the legacy of your kids. And guess who gets to build that? You. Now, if it involves inheriting some assets from your parents and taking over the family operation, great. But none of your decisions today should have any merit or be weighted at all towards what the prior generations are going to think of you. It should be all about the future generations and those kids that you're looking into their eyes and trying to build a better future for them and give them an opportunity. I'm not saying giving them assets and just giving them all this wealth, giving them an opportunity to do something with it, to create something great for their life. When I look at legacy is nothing that you pass on materially. Legacy is the wisdom, the knowledge, and the opportunity that you are giving the next generation to really live a meaningful life. Because with all of us, our lives are going to end one day. God's going to call our name, and it's going to be our time to go. And in that time, we don't get to take anything materially, but we get to walk up to him. I truly believe this. We get to walk up to him and, really be able to see, hey, did I live a meaningful life? Did I really do some great things? And did I do some good in this world? And did I impact some people. And with me, I want to make sure I impact my family while I'm here and impact them even more when I'm gone and give them opportunities. So that's all I got for you today in this message, my friends. Hopefully you found some value from it. Hopefully give some insight into some of you, and hopefully some of you take some action because of it. And again, the stuff I'm talking about today, not easy decisions, not easy topics to cover, but the pain of not doing it long term far outweighs the pain of going through it in the short term. So my friends, that concludes today's video. We will catch you on the next one. Hey everyone, we hope you liked today's episode of Farmer Principles. If today's message resonated with you, then I'd like to invite you to take a look at all the different ways Legacy Farmer can help your family farm operation get streamlined and organized, just like we have with over 300 family farms across the United States. Now, be sure to click the link in the description under this video, and be sure to also like and subscribe to this channel to get more content like what you watched today.